We interrupt this program to bring you the following special report from ABC News in New York. Here is correspondent Tom Jarriel.
Good afternoon. We have the first pictures received from Iranian TV on the aftermath of the U.S. rescue attempt of the American hostages in Iran. We'll take a good look at those pictures in a moment. In Iran today, the militants and the government officials announced that the hostages have now been moved to various locations away from the embassy to discourage any future such rescue attempts. Now the first pictures from the scene left in the Iranian desert, where the rescue attempt known as the codename Desert One ran into trouble. And we warn you, some of this footage is very graphic and is offensive to view. But it is the first pictorial account of the tragic ending to an historic rescue attempt. This helicopter crewman badly burned, his body charred, helicopter crewman's helmet, the only thing really left that's visible. Here's another of the 8 American GIs who died at the end of this rescue effort. This location was the first of several refueling and assembly points in the Dashikavar Desert, 300 miles southeast of Tehran. It was here that 6 RH-53 helicopters to be used in the actual rescue attempt had landed to be refueled. When one of those 6 helicopters developed hydraulic trouble, they scrubbed the rescue attempt. Then, as the force of 90 servicemen was being flown out of the desert, a chopper collided with a C-130 transport plane in the darkness. 8 American servicemen were killed, 5 injured, and this is the debris in the desert, 300 miles southeast of Tehran. This is what's left there of the U.S. assembly point for the rescue mission. The charred bodies of the 8 American servicemen, as we have seen, could be seen, and they had to be left behind because their colleagues felt that to try to retrieve the bodies would have compromised the safety of the other men. Also today, Iranian officials announced that the bodies of those 8 servicemen will be returned to the United States, and apparently there will be no haggling over that point. The 6 helicopters, as we say, made it this far. One was destroyed, of course, in that collision with the C-130 transport plane. Here we can see some of the Iranian newsmen. Iranian TV made these pictures, talking to some of the Iranian officers at the scene, some 300 miles outside of Tehran. 5 helicopters were also abandoned there. At the U.S. Embassy today, there were also some interesting developments. That embassy has become all too familiar to American viewers over the many long months that the hostages have been held. Today, the militants discouraged newsmen from coming around. In fact, you can see the guards here actually chasing them away from the vantage point where television cameras until today had been permitted. This, of course, was about the time that we believe the hostages in the embassy were taken away to another location. President Bani Sadr did confirm that the hostages have been moved. He said that it will make it more difficult for any future rescue attempts, and of course it will, because we don't know exactly where they've been taken. Some reports say they'll not only be taken to locations within the city of Tehran, but possibly scattered at various locations all over the nation of Iran to discourage any future rescue attempts. 5 of the servicemen who were injured in the desert there in Iran have been flown back to the United States to Brooke Medical Army Hospital in San Antonio for treatment of their burns. Also, President Carter met with his security advisors at the White House today to review the aftermath of this rescue attempt. We will have a full report on an expanded ABC News weekend report later tonight on most of these ABC stations. I'm Tom Jarriel for ABC News in New York. Good afternoon.
This has been a special report from ABC News. We now return you to our regularly scheduled programming.